Hey y'all, it's Alexa with Grace Cherish, where we're making beautiful and hospitable places. I'm outside. I'm over here. I've talked about this area. My house is right there. And I planted flowers in this area around where a fountain, the previous owners had a fountain right there. I planted it back beginning of April, maybe even March. It was probably March actually. And so by now I should have plants that are a bit taller than they are, but I failed. So figured I'd give an update. I planted them and I didn't water them enough. I did not water them the way that they needed to in order to germinate well. So lesson learned. That's what a lot of this year is about, is learning lessons and what to do and what not to do. So anyway, that I failed with. I'm gonna try to replant them. Oh, the other thing I realized I failed with, let me put this camera up. All right, this is better. The other area that I realized I didn't do well was with the sun, right? Plants need sun, they need water, they need air. And what I didn't realize at the time that I was planning out planting was that, once the trees have the leaves come back, it was gonna cover that area way more than I anticipated. I knew it would cover them some, but I didn't realize that it was gonna cover them so much that, here, I can even turn around. You can see I have some big oaks behind me. But it covers, so this whole area really doesn't get that much sun at all. And so obviously plants need sun, or at least, some plants do better in sun, with more sun than others, all of that. So I'm gonna try different plants that I'm gonna put in there, different flowers that are actually, it's also botanical interest, but it's the Made in the Shade flower mix I'm gonna try there and see if that goes better. I think it will, but yeah, this area gets a lot less sun than I anticipated once the leaves on the trees came, and it felt like all of a sudden our home went from, or our land went from being really bare to just, if you look around, I got a lot of trees on this bad boy. It just, all of a sudden, there was so much going on. So anyway, lessons learned, not mad about it. So a friend of mine had a party, a plant swap in her neighborhood in Atlanta, and she had a bunch of tomato plants, some cilantro, some dill that were left over, and she asked me if I wanted them. So I said absolutely. And so one of them, this plant right here, is actually a San Marzano plant, which were some of the ones that we wanted to do. This is looking a little sad. It needs some water, so I'm going to take care of that. But yeah, I need to get these planted in the ground. There are about 5 tomato plants or so, maybe a little bit more. And then, yeah, we have cilantro, we have dill. I'm really looking forward to getting these in there since some of my seed starts really did not do very well. I'll show those next. Okay, before I go show you, see this bug right here? We have a lot of them, and I'm trying to figure out what they are. I've been reading about clover mites, about spider mites, but we have a lot all over. And I'm trying to figure out if I need to do something. We obviously, we don't do pesticides or anything. Turn the camera on real quick, but those, we don't like to spray anything that could be harmful for the earth or for the animals and insects and things that are within it. In this area too, we don't want to do that, but I do want to identify what they are so I can figure out how can I help manage them, unless they aren't something that needs to be. I mean, they might be perfectly fine. I don't care if there are bugs in here, obviously, but if there's something that could cause a problem, I do want to figure that out. So let me show you them again. All right, let's see if I can get a good shot of them. I really just need to take some pictures and then do my Google search again. But there they are. There's a ton of them, just like that. All right. I just moved to a different spot of the garden, and there are several of these. They moved once I got a little bit closer, but there were like 10 or 15 all just in this little grass that's poking up from underneath the cardboard and wood chips. You can see them all. This is right by the tomatoes, which is also what I was coming out here to show you. Oops, my bad. So these tomatoes, let me get down. These are, actually, I added some nitrogen. I did some fish emulsion like a week or so ago, and they're actually doing better. They look a lot better than they did, but I'm afraid that I'm just afraid I did it wrong. I know I didn't harden them off, right? Let me show you these ones. I know I didn't harden them off right. I put them out with too much Like I put them outside and left them outside all day instead of gradually doing it. So this one actually does look like it's grown, which is interesting because I was definitely thinking nothing was gonna grow, but that actually looks bigger. But, you know, in all humility, I'm willing to take thoughts. These two actually look like they've gotten slightly bigger too. These are cherry tomato varieties. At least this one's Aunt Molly's cherry tomato. This one is too, because I had two of them. And then the rest of the way down is just gonna be other, I actually direct seeded, but then I got those starts, so I'm gonna put them in there. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna keep them in there. All right, look at those pole beans. They're looking good. These are the Blue Lake pole beans. Over here, we have the Royal Burgundy. There are my peppers, which y'all, I'm not lying. These ones are also growing. I did a terrible job hardening them off too. I did the same thing I did with the tomatoes, but that is definitely bigger than it had been. So maybe there's hope. They're still green. We'll give it a go. Let me show you over here. We have our cucumbers. So I did 2 seeds per area, or per hole. So I will have to thin them out, but look at these babies. Oh, that brings me so much joy. And then over here, these ones have come up, but, oh, no, that's right. There's nothing in this area. So here are the Kentucky yellow beans. And then let's go over here, more pole beans. But I said I'd show you the flowers. So here's a few. This is not, that's just weed. But here we go. Okay. Some more. Over here, some more cucumbers. And some more flowers in between. And then I got broccoli back there. All right, y'all, look at those gourds. So I planted 2 gourd plants, one here and one over here. This one never actually came up, but this one did, and I had overseeded. So I'm not gonna keep all the plants right here, but this is actually a flower bed. If I move over, you can see this is one of the flower beds. I have 4, and 2 of them I actually did put netting and things in there to help the plants when they grow to have some extra support. But then 2 other beds I just cast and let it go because I just want to kind of test the 2. And I wanted on this arched trellis right here to have gourds go up it. I love gourds and things. So anyway, I'm excited for that plant and how it's growing. I'm not going to plant any flowers in this section. I started them after this first hoop just to give the plant more space. So I'm gonna actually have to figure out with the netting, I might just have to move the rebar over. So I start the netting over there. But this is exciting. Look at it go. Go, baby. Now this is kind of a quick update, and you can see I'm not even in my like garden clothes. My kids, we had our last, one of the co-ops that we're in for our homeschool, we had the last day today, and I came home and I was just like, I wanna get outside, I wanna be in the garden, I just wanna check things. I try to make it a regular habit to just see the progress, obviously to make sure I'm seeing if there are any issues and things, but also it's very encouraging to just see the growth, see things are happening, you know? I failed or didn't do as well with some of my starts like I wanted to, and so that can be discouraging, but then I come out here and I see the pumpkin plant is growing well. Let me show the pumpkin plant. Here's the pumpkin plant, and look at that, and it looks good, and the sun is really bright, so you might not be able to see, but it's very green, growing well. Here's the corn that I just sowed for my second succession sowing, and so I just, look at that. Look at that. And this, my friends, this is encouraging, especially for a first timer. Like, even looking at this corn, I'm like, it looks like corn. It looks like a corn stalk. I'll be. Praise the Lord. So I'm thankful. I have a lot to grow in, to learn. But man, a seed has grown into a little bit of a plant. That's exciting. It's hopeful. It's definitely hopeful. I'm so thankful. This is really awesome to get to see so much growth And I know we still have a long way to go, but man, it just shows how important it is for us to pause in the process. I didn't realize how much I needed to see like this little bit of growth. I mean, I was looking at some things and I'm like, whoa, you sprung up a lot more. And I swear I was just out here yesterday or the day before. Like, it wasn't that long ago. And yet you've grown so much. And it's something beautiful. And I was thinking, you know, we need that more in life. And again, just like the lessons of the garden, like we do our role, and then there's a lot of waiting and watching. But so much life springs up that doesn't even just come from us. But it just reminded me of how important it is for all of us as people to enjoy the process, to not despise it, but to like pause and to bear witness to the growth, to the small ways that we have seen plants spring from the ground, like little seeds in our lives that sprout to something, and that we get to keep nurturing and growing. It's really, yeah, it's really beautiful, the process. So I used to work for this organization, and I've talked about it before, but like they had addiction recovery programs, but then we also had an emergency shelter where we could provide services to people experiencing homelessness. And so one of the nights I was there with some other women that I volunteered with. I worked for them, like we were on staff there, but we also would volunteer, and we would do this foot washing for women that were coming in off the streets. They were coming for dinner, but we would offer like, hey, we're going to do a foot washing once a week. We do a little bit of Bible study, sharing testimonies, stuff like that. And I can't tell you, like, when I'm rooting for someone, like whether it's my son's baseball game or I'm like pumped for someone who's accomplished something, I'm like, I go buck wild. No reserve. I love it. I love celebrating people and like things that happen, especially when they're difficult. And we would have people, sometimes they'd share, they'd be like, I've been sober one day. And when I tell you, I would hoop and holler because I'm like, you better be, let's go. Like it's exciting. It's amazing. One day, to take that first day is probably a lot harder sometimes, I feel like, than taking that 90th day. Because to take that first day, you have to acknowledge that something that might have been tearing you down before, you are willing to say no to it, even though it is so hard. And you might not even have all the tools and even the willpower, but you're trying. And that one day is worth celebrating. That one day is incredible. And so we would just hoop and holler. And someone else might be like, 1 year, 60 days, 3 months, whatever. And every time it's like, we are celebrating. I am pumped. I want you to know, like, that is no small thing. That is no small thing. And there are so many of us who we have that one day moment. You might be having it right now. One day where I didn't yell at my kids like I maybe wanted to, or one day where I didn't do X, Y, Z. I don't know. One day where I might be addicted to something, and I'm saying, okay, today's the day. I one day. And then you get to your 30 day and your 90 day. And I remember one woman, 34 years since she had taken a drink, you know, and it's just so beautiful to celebrate those things. And I get excited about the growth of this plant, but I feel, and I get excited about the person who takes a step. And again, it doesn't have to be addiction, though. That's huge. And if that's you, bless it. You go. You keep going, you know? But it could be something else. That person who wants to be a writer and they feel like God's called them to write a book. And so they have to take that one day of writing, day one, creating the habit, you know, whatever it might be. Those are small, like anything, especially when you're acting in obedience and you're seeking to better the life of yourself and for others, like that's worth celebrating. And I guess that's my point for today. I hope that you can be encouraged to celebrate those moments and let those be the things. Remember those moments so that when you go forth and you have those harder days, you can look back on it. Let's not rush past to try to get to, I can't get to the full-blown corn stalk. I can't do that. But I can celebrate that corn is just a little bit taller today than it was yesterday. And maybe we might actually get to that corn stalk. I don't know. Something could come in and destroy all of it. We got a lot of animals up in here. But what I can do is still celebrate today and take it for what it is. And do what I can for tomorrow. But I don't want to miss that celebrating. So anyway, I got a baby calling me, so I got to bounce. But bless you. Thanks for hanging out with me in the garden. Thanks for celebrating the small wins. Please share with me your small wins in your garden. I would love to hear in your garden or in your life. All right, bless y'all.